Well, hi, hi, hi. It's Tune Out, and hey, we're here on social media. We're on Facebook with Words of Wisdom with Dr. Michael Gross. I apologize. Michael's having a little technical glitch right now, but he should be joining us shortly. If for those of you who don't know who Dr. Michael Gross is, he's the author of the Spiritual Primer. And I will go ahead and read just a tiny bit on the cover to let you know what's going on with him. He talks about the Spiritual Primer is reconnecting to God, to experience your true sources, love, joy, and happiness. How about that one, right? And he has his book is out, the second edition is out, and it's applying God's 12 transformational laws to reawaken your soul. And sometimes we do have challenges when it comes to technology, but here's this beautiful cover, this incredible book. And if you hear any kind of noise in the background, it's because I have him on my phone, hoping that we'll have him live here really, really soon. Um, our our podcast only goes for 30 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and while we're waiting for Michael to come on board with us, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to him. Not only have you, here he comes. Wonderful, wonderful. Here you go, Michael. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You can hear me okay, Michael?
How's everybody doing? Can you hear me?
Uh-oh. I think you just, there you go. Here we go. Okay, I was just getting ready to introduce you to everybody, okay? So I'll go ahead and do that while you adjust yourself, okay?
Go ahead.
And here we go, okay? Like I said, we have some technical glitches going, but we do overcome them, right? So,
Yes, we do.
Dr. Michael Gross is an author, professional keynote speaker, transformational coach, and an entrepreneur. Looks like he's freezing sometimes, so I don't know what his internet's doing, but we'll keep going, okay? For more than 3 decades, he's been on a spiritual path as an intuitive, a healer, a spiritual counselor, and an incredible teacher. Through the guidance of spirit, Michael has assisted others in their personal quest for self empowerment, helping them to create the lives that they have long sought and to bring forth their intuitive abilities. Michael currently teaches classes in spirituality, self empowerment, Reiki, and other modalities. In concert with God, the True Source, he has also achieved great success and miraculous healings. He remains humble, knowing the work that he does all comes from God, the True Source. He lives in Lakewood, Washington, and he's playing with the backgrounds. I think that's so funny, Michael. He's got me distracted, but what a treat to see everybody just taking the stress of technology and embracing the beautiful things that you do, Michael. So I'm going to go ahead. You're making me laugh. I'm going to go ahead and I know you have a topic that you'd like to talk to the people about, and we really, really, really appreciate everybody joining us tonight. So feel free to leave your comments, and I'll give you a little tip that, Michael, when we go onto virtual backgrounds, your book might not show up like this one. Okay.
Okay.
Just so you know, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to put all of Michael's contact information in the comments. So if you see me poking around on my phone, that's what I'm doing. It's definitely save all the contact information because one thing I will say, Michael offers a complimentary consultation. So if you're wanting to learn more about how to access your soul and the messages that True Source has for you, I highly recommend you take Michael up on that generous offer. Okay, there you go, Michael.
Thank you. Just bear with me one moment. I want to shut my cell phone off, so give me a moment. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. I was asking the True Source, what should I discuss this evening? And I really been affected by all the chaos going on the planet. And I thought I'd talk to you all about the preciousness of life. Life is a gift, and we ask for that gift. And that's such an important gift. We ask for life because without life, you cannot experience love and joy and happiness. You cannot experience the sun and the rain and the snow and the smell of flowers and the birds, seeing a little baby playing, watching how procreation, that microscopic sperm and egg, produces a beautiful fetus that's a beautiful child, and seeing the joy and happiness of a child laughing and or doing something and feeling something really out of the ordinary and feeling great and wonderful and feeling precious, watching how people smile and appreciate you. And as I began to contemplate all those things, I wanted to know why there's so much hate in the world, so much prejudice. And then I would led, I should say, to the conclusion that hate is an acquired energy. Think about it, it's acquired. We are not born to automatically hate. We're not born to kill. That's not in our concept. But I want to go back to hate for a moment. So where does hate come if it's acquired? And it's acquired from our family, our friends, our relatives. We're brainwashed. I remember one time my 6-year-old friend, I should say my 6-year-old son, was playing, and I had a friend, and he's a man of color, and he brought over his 6-year-old. And the two were playing and having fun and laughing, and he said, "Look, they're colorblind." They said, "Yeah, they are colorblind. They just see two children playing together." So all this hate comes from our family, friends, relatives, parents, whatever it may be. And I remember when my grandparents came from Europe, and they came across Ellis Island and settled in Brooklyn and eventually got a job and so on and so forth. What is our basic needs? Food, clothing, and shelter. That's what we basically need. And after my grandparents had achieved that, my father said the Russians hated the Greeks, Greeks hated the Italians, Italians hated the French, French hated the Lithuanians, Lithuanians hated the Romanians, on and on and on. I go, well, why? I don't know. Our parents hated them. So we hated them. That's what I mean by acquired. And within the truth within us and all the chaos in this planet, we have to begin to take a look at ourselves and our lives and really treasure life. And where does hate come from? Again, from our families, relatives, even religions hate each other. Not horrible? Yet most religions believe in there is only one God, I call the true source. So if there's only one, why is one better than the other? I will admit there's different paths to enlightenment, to learning and growing. But other than that, if we're all the same. And I've often thought if you remove all our skin, and we're on a skeleton with the muscles, ligaments, tendons, you couldn't tell whether it was male or female. You couldn't. And yet here we are being very judgmental. And then we talk about fear, false evidence appearing as real. Children have no fear. It's acquired. They may be uncertain, they want to try something, but they don't know why. But it's not fear-based. I remember my granddaughter, who at 5 or 6 was on a balance beam doing somersaults. And my son said, "Look, she has no fear. She was doing all kinds of things. Didn't even think about it." And he said, "Sometimes I'm scared she could injure herself, but I have to hide it because I don't want her to pick up my energy." There in itself is a hint. So fear, again, is acquired. And who's responsible for it? We as adults. And even further, a child does not know to kill. Doesn't understand that. And if we look at our children, we are born with certain vibrations of frequencies. And the most important one is love. And really, that's, what's missing on this planet, unconditional love. The former president of Romania, Ceausescu, if pronouncing it right, or probably not, he wanted to populate Romania. He wanted more children in Romania. And so he encouraged them to have more children. And as he encouraged them to have more children, they were poor and couldn't handle them. So he set up institutions. And in institutions, the children were fed, taken care of, and treated well. But here's the interesting part about the children being treated well. They were fed, they were clothed, the diapers were changed. But many of the babies under a year, year and a quarter, died mysteriously. And then they found out it's the touch that a mother has or a father has. It's that touch. It's that loving touch that that child needs. Key word is love. And then they noticed afterwards, a lot of the children had lower IQs that were in orphanages. Because why? They didn't receive the touch, the love, and understanding. They weren't encouraged. Our foundations throughout the world and the future of the world is based upon our children. They are our future leaders. And what are we teaching them? It's a good thought. You know, when I was growing up and I would say, why do I have to do that? And my father or mother would say, because I said so. And if you opened up your mouth, you got whacked. So, okay. But then as we turn around and I got older, I realized they didn't have to explain or have the ability to explain why, but they knew innately that that was the right thing to do. Innately means you automatically know that it's not right to steal or lie or kill someone or hate someone or harm someone. You know that. But what happens is we're missing that love. And then we turn around and we look at education, and teachers are no longer allowed to hug children because it might hurt or makes another child jealous. So if a child falls and skins its knees, they can't pick up the child and give it a hug. Oh no, you can't do that. What has happened to our society? Are we becoming cold, unloving, self-centered? If we look around at every country, we look at the politics. I don't care what country in. There's corrupt politics. There are some good politicians. And we have people making decisions for us and in our governments that we trust have our best interests. Although we're beginning to find out that's very few. Many have all their own self-interests. And what about you? What is your self-interest? Does your children come first and your family? And how do you prepare your children for life? I see so many times I talk to mothers and fathers. Oh, we have to have a play date. What? That was years ago. Well, I have to make an appointment. Oh, what did you do? I just went out, knocked on the doors. Continue, come and play. That was it. That's what we did. And we were told when we were called or it got dark, the street lights went on, come home. And we did. And so, I hear a lot of parents worried about abductions and so on, which is true. But I'm willing to bet, and I haven't looked up the numbers, there's a magical number around 10%. 10% of probably the children were molested or hurt or whatever. But if we look at the population numbers, 10% of 5 million or 6 million versus 9 million, there's a difference in numbers, but it's the same. And what are we teaching our children? To be really careful of others. And then I notice the jealousy amongst children, because each parent wants their child to be a star, be the best athlete, or get the highest grades. Well, guess what? Not everybody can be a star athlete. Not everybody can get the highest grades. Not everybody can be a star or do something. What's important is, I remember I was talking to my children, and my son, his IQ is of a genius. But he's not a geeky genius. He can do anything. He can take apart anything and put it back together again. quickly, rapidly, do carpentry, whatever. My daughter wasn't quite as didn't have that intellectual. And I sat her down one day and she felt bad. I said, don't compare yourself to your brother. You have other gifts. And I explained to her gifts that she had. And she smiled and she thought about it. Do we take the time to look at our children and spend some time with them? No, give them a computer, let them play the games, let them do this or that, buy them nice stuff, arrange play dates, and get lost. There's very rare as in family time. And again, in one of my son's restaurants, he has Sunday night family time from 5 to 7. This is the rule. There's a basket on the table. You are to put your cell phones in the basket, shut them off, and spend however long you're going to eat there communicating with your children. What a great idea. And I watch them. And when I'm out visiting them, each child has to say what they liked and did for the day. It's pretty powerful. These are the things that are going on because it's establishing a family relationship. I know that Tia's chopping at the bit. She wants to say something, so go ahead.
I do. Thank you, Michael. Um, back in the day before cell phones and stuff, that's exactly what we were, that was our family time where we would share how the day went and whatnot, just exactly what you were talking about. And what happens now, and I'm hoping that you'll give us a few clues on this, is that a lot of time you have a single parent family. That parent is working as hard as she can, and that's taking time away from what the quality family time. So when I was a single mom, I mean my kids are grown now, but when I was at home, it was like so many demands on that. How am I supposed to even start a conversation with my children when I would ask questions just like what you were saying and they would give one word answers? How was your egg? Oh, it's fine. How can you help the parents now that are so wrapped up in the chaos of life, to get back to that connection with the children?
Well, there are several ways you can do that. You can say, oh, it's fine. Okay. Well, what does that mean? Can you define it? And what was fine about your day? Engage them in a conversation, even there's one word. But eventually, they'll have multiple words. And eventually, they'll be beginning to speak more and more. And most of us are impatient and want it to happen overnight. And I'm no different. But on the other hand, as we engage them and we listen to them more and more and more, and we pay attention, and that's the most important thing. When a child is talking to you, get the heck off your cell phone or your computer, or say, I'm engaged in a conversation. Give me a couple of minutes. Then when you're talking on the phone, say, let me get back to you. I have to spend a little time or with my child. Let them know that they're more important than the phone or the computer. Because, we don't give credit to children. Children are really more adept and more intuitive than you can ever believe. I remember I had a client in, and her son, we were trying to work on something. He was going through the terrible twos, as you know, screaming and yelling. And I closed my eyes, asked permission to talk to his soul, and I said, I know what you're doing. You're interfering. He stopped yelling, looked at me, smiled, and went back to screaming and yelling again. They know what they're doing. And what they're doing is they're asking for attention. And the question is, are we giving them enough attention? But we also have to set down rules so they can respect rules. Even though you may think it's unfair or you want to have your children grow up to be positive, but we have to expect them to understand what rules are. You can't speed, you can't kill, you can't steal. You try not to talk bad about anyone. You don't lie. I mean, these are basic rules. In everything, every sport and everything we do, there are basic rules. We don't even look at it that way. I remember my father used to play for a short time first base for the Brooklyn Dodgers, and he taught me how to play baseball. I was never that great at it, but I did okay. But there are certain basic rules. basketball, but there are basic rules in every life. One of them called is respect. Number 2 is listening. And 3 is critical thinking. We don't teach our children those 3 important items. Respect, most important. I meet children who call me Michael, not Dr. Michael Gross or Dr. Gross. And there's really something important to that because it teaches respect. Instead, call them by the first name. A 7-year-old, a 9-year-old can't compare with me or you because you're an adult. You've got more things that happened in life. You have more experience. I have to fix my headpiece, so pardon me. And so that's very important that they understand respect. I remember one time I walked into a bank and she said, "Well, Michael," I said, "You don't know me." She went like this. "See, it says Dr. Michael Gross. That's my name." "Well, I don't know you. And first of all, I want to call you by your last name because that's respect. That's so important." And she was giving me a hard time about an account. And I said, "I pay your salary." "Well, what do you mean? You don't pay my salary?" "Yeah, I do." I said, "If I and my others don't deposit money here, you wouldn't have a job." So we have to learn to have respect and critical thinking. That's so important. And we have to learn to question everything in our lives. And if someone questioned me, "Why do I have to do that?" I would either explain to them or say, "What do you think?" But we see so many things. And I was in the bank and I wanted to set up something in the nonprofit. And the other young man, "Well, why didn't you set it up when you first opened your account?" And thank God there was my banker there, and she acted as an intermediary. I was going to let him have it and want his name and report him. See, we don't have any respect for anything. Why? Because we address everybody the first name. We think they're equal. We're only equal that we're human beings, that we're loving and we're caring. But to judge one another, that makes us unequal. And it's so important for us to make an understanding. Perhaps they weren't aware, perhaps they misunderstood. But when they repeat this over and over again, we need to call them on that. And why I'm talking about calling on that, whatever your political belief is, I don't care what it is, whatever it is, whatever country you're watching this in. The most important thing is have critical thinking. Are they doing right action? More importantly, am I letting my vote or my words speak for me? Or am I just sitting back, well, so what? Well, so what? I remember reading something interesting about the Holocaust. And the article was written by a priest. And he said, when it came after the Jews, I wasn't Jewish, so I didn't do anything. When it came after the gypsies, I wasn't a gypsy. I didn't do anything. I wasn't a gypsy. And when they went after the souls that were homosexual, I wasn't a homosexual, so I ignored it. And then when I went after the ministers, I felt bad, but I'm not a minister, so I ignored it. Then I came after me and there was no one left. I'm sure some of you may have heard that. And that is the truth. We have to stand up for our beliefs, but not our ego. We have to be afraid that if we don't speak up for our peace, then we're going to lose all of our rights. We have to understand that we have to look at things objectively, which is critical thinking, not your ego. And we have to be willing to admit we're wrong or made a mistake. And, I know when I was bringing up my children and I said something was wrong, I go back to them and say, you know what? I was wrong. I misjudged. And I owned up to it. And what did I teach them? I taught them that they too can admit a mistake, but still be respected. And that's so important in our lives. So where am I going with all this? And where I'm going with all this is trying to help each one of us understand that our direction as life is determined by your thoughts, your actions, and by your critical thinking. And that is the direction of your life. It's not important to be wrong, not important to be right, but it's important to do what we call right action. You might say, well, that's right. Not necessarily. Right action can be apologizing. Right action could be saying, this is working well. But what if I enhance it? What if I move to the left or to the right? What if I explain it in a different way? Then what happens? Every great inventor was laughed at. Thomas Edison, electricity, telegraph, radio. You know, and when we went to the turn of the century in 1899, coming up 1900, you know what the greatest fear was? Are we going to have enough horses for the expanding population? So what do we have? Cars, motorcycles, bikes. Everything is progressing and moving forward. You have to move forward. But instead of having tunnel vision, have a panoramic view of what's going on in your life. That panoramic view says, what is the correct thing? And what must I feel and show in my life? And the most important thing is showing unconditional love, compassion, understanding, and critical thinking. Yeah, we make mistakes. And that's okay, because that's the way we learn. Or we can read a book or someone explains something. We can learn it that way. And we have to learn that words mean power. And I remember I was invited to speak to AA. And I heard them to get up and they said, I'm an alcoholic and I haven't drank in 12 years. I'm an alcoholic and I haven't drank in 20 years. And I go, wow. I said, and so I got up, wasn't too popular. You realize what you're saying? Words have power. You say, I'm an alcoholic. You're reaffirming that you are. Well, that's what we're supposed to do. But what the mind can conceive, the body will believe. So you repeat it, well, you're an alcoholic. So I said, I have a suggestion. I am a recovered alcoholic and I haven't drank in 20 years. What do you think the mind is going to say? And the body, yep, you're recovered. You're no longer an alcoholic. Those are the things we need to understand, because 94% of our thinking comes from our subconscious mind. And in that subconscious mind, it reviews itself 60 to 90 times in the sleep. So what are you creating? I would like you to all think about the most important thing, and that is, how do you steer a path of love and joy and happiness? How do you understand people? And how do you teach to your children and younger souls and teach them about loving and caring and teach them about hate is acquired and anger is acquired. But love is natural. It's innate. So I want to leave all those thoughts to you. We'll probably continue this next week. I'm going to ask for all of you to meditate, to pray, however you do it, for peace on earth and the healing of the population of this planet and the healing of Mother Earth. So I want to thank all of you. I appreciate it. And I would like to share some things with you at this point. We'll call it a Michael's commercial, okay? So every Tuesday from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I have called Soul Awakening. And you call in and ask any question on spirituality. Hopefully I can answer it. And then I deliver a 10-minute motivational message. And I think there are about 335 of them. But I invite all of you, because we can all learn something. Even if you already know it, you've forgotten it. And it's a good reminder. I've been at this for a long, long time on spiritual basis, more than the average bear. And there are things that I talk about, or things that beautiful souls ask. Yeah, I got to remember that. Because we are bombarded with so much information, it's easy to forget. So to access that telephone number, to you, would you give them that number?
Absolutely. The number is 202-926-1059. And the access code, Michael?
125446#.
One more time. That number is 202-926-1059. 1059, and the code, Michael?
125446 #. Also, the second Saturday of every month, we have what we call the Mass Consciousness Healing. That's so important, the Mass Consciousness Healing, because what it does, it touches your soul and helps heal you and helps heal the planet and its inhabitants. Because whatever you say or do, it affects you. And I would like you to understand why it affects you. Whatever you're sending out there, whatever it is, love, joy, hate, anger, whatever it is, it comes back to you. Well, how do you know? Go to a little wishing well. You know, sometimes restaurants have it. You toss a penny in, you make a wish, and you get these ripples where the penny, and you can see the ripples going where the penny started. But watch it carefully, and underneath, you see the ripples go back to the edge of the pool. That's just an example of whatever you send out or give or say comes back to you. So by sending healing, you get it tenfold. And the telephone number is the same as the Tuesday night when I call. Where's the Tuesday night Soul Awakening, rather? And that number is, again, one more time,
202-926-1059, and the access code, Michael?
125446 #. Now, all these messages that I give you, you can access, and you can access this on YouTube by going to Dr. Michael B. Gross, YouTube, all the podcasts, all these messages, and a lot of the messages are audio, and some of them have a beautiful photograph by our award-winning photographer, Tio Knapp, with a little thought of the day and then an explanation. So I encourage all of you to do that. But also, if you want to listen to the audio part, you're stuck in traffic, you're angry, you're mad, everything's going wrong. I had a problem with my other computer. So what do? Well, you can play back one of the motivational messages. And to access that in audio mode, you dial
434-300-4170, and the code, Michael?
Access code is 125446 #. One more time.
I'll give that, yes. 434-300-4170, and the code, Michael?
125446 #. So I want to thank all of you for joining us. And remember, you are the solution. You make a difference. And there's something I want to share with you. And this is a book written by Tio Knapp. It's called Healing the Holes in Your Soul. I know we've presented this before, but I encourage you. It's motivational. It will change your life. And realize how one woman went through a death and rebirth like the mythological bird, the phoenix. This is a must read.
Thank you, Michael. But start with this one. This is the Spiritual Primer, 2nd edition, by Dr. Michael Gross, who actually wrote the foreword in the book he's holding. And if it wasn't for this amazing book and that incredible gentleman sitting right next to me virtually, I wouldn't have written that book that he's holding, nor would I be doing any kind of social media of any kind. I would still be sitting there on the couch wondering why I'm here. So definitely start with this book. And Michael, don't you offer a special for people that connect with you for the first time?
Absolutely. I know you probably put it in the chat. So all you new viewers and all of you, I offer a 20-minute complimentary session. I believe I'll be able to help you or point you in a direction or whatever your needs are, because each one of our needs are unique. Hopefully I'll be able to help you, but if not, it's great to have a friend and meet a new person. So please take advantage of it. And Tio has already put it in chat. So I want to thank you very, very much. I also remind all of you, when you wake up each morning, give thanks. Give thanks for anything you can think of, for breathing, for air, for your children, for your family, for the country you live in, for your relatives. Give thanks, because whatever you give thanks comes back to you. So everyone, I wish you a wonderful week. I wish you well. And remember, you are unlimited. Namaste. Take care, everyone. We love you.
Thank you, Michael. We love you.